help.
Don't bother me. Don't dare do that again. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope everybody's safe and well and enjoyed their day. Tonight we have our American team with us. We have the lovely Jennifer and I was going to say lovely Matthew, but I'll just say he's quite a handsome guy for his age, you know. And he's younger than me, I think. But let's not open that old wound.
That's ageism.
Well, I don't know.
Hey, watch the age.
Tonight's thing is going to talk about age as well, so.
We'll leave age out of it, shall we? And we'll get Sam as well. So tonight is actually Jennifer's live because we are doing, Jennifer is doing the story behind the Bell Witch.
The Bell Witch,
so,
yes. The Bell Witch is...
Over to you, Doc.
All right. How about this? You guys obviously have heard of the Bell Witch, correct? Scott, Matt, Sam, heard of it?
Yep.
Okay. Now, how much does that come from that you did your own research, or did you actually just watch that movie?
Movie.
A bit of both, to be fair. But you'll give me a row.
What about you, Matt?
Movie.
Hey, Irene.
Okay.
Movie.
All right. So I'm going to tell you that. The movie, I'm going to say I love the movie. And it's only loosely based on actual events. It took place over the course of 3 years, not just that short time that they showed in the movie. So it was much longer events. So let's go, before we get into those details of when those events occurred, you have to understand that this is back in the 1800s, early 1800s America. People are still, a lot of places are not settled yet. A lot of places still have lots of Indians or Native Americans, as people say it. I swear that's controversial these days, but whatever. Point is, all those people were there, and people were trying to go and settle wherever they could find land. The Bells, John Bell, hey, Misty Cat. The Bells settled in 1804. So that doesn't let you know exactly when they came to this land. They came to the land in Tennessee in 1804. They settled it. He was a farmer. He built his house. That's when he started his family. Him and his wife had 7 kids. So if you know that the movie did not indicate 7 kids, but they had 7 children. 1 girl, the rest were all boys. And the one that everyone's famous about, of course, is Betsy. Betsy is one of the main focus, and John Bell Sr. was the other focus of this story. So you have to start with that. You have to always start with how they came there. They were farmers. They came to a land that they're hoping to prosper and make and do well. About around the summer of 1817 is when things started kind of going crazy at the Bell farmstead. It didn't just start attacking anyone. So don't go by what the movie has. Don't go by what certain other stories have said. Yes, there's been over 25 books have been written about the Bell Witch. There is a site where the cabin was recreated, and there is the cave nearby. All right, great, wonderful stuff. We'll talk about that later. But we have to start with the fact that it started as simple things that happened in the family, and they didn't really know what was going on at first. So in 1817, the summer of 1817, it started with knocks, just random knocks in the house in the middle of the night, sometimes during the day. No rhyme or reason to these knocks. They were just started. They would center around John Bell Sr. and Betsy. Those were the two main two that were targeted by this entity. The rest of the children were also targeted, but not as to the extreme as these 2 people. It's what's interesting is that the wife, Lucy, was actually well liked by the entity, never was harmed, never gotten anything bad happen to her ever. So let's just put that out there right now, that Lucy, the mother, never had anything bad happen to her at all, at least according to my research. So from the knockings, it went to them hearing rats being gnawing on the bedpost, but there was no evidence when they went to look at their bedposts that rats had been gnawing on them. They could hear stones, big stones being dropped on the floor that would wake them. They would hear chains being drug around, gulping and scratching. So as the summer progressed, things started getting worse. All right, so let's rewind a little bit. Why do the Bells want to? Why do you think that this happened? Does anyone know this answer? Anybody? Anyone? No.
No.
Okay. Well, the one thought, at least the Bells, thought it was a woman named. Oh, what was her name? Her name was Kate. Kate Batts. They think that after her death, that she somehow had cursed the family. The family had done business with her and her land, just like the movie did say. She did have dealings with the family. But as that's kind of controversial as far as the history goes. Where the history goes, there's parts of it where it shows that that she cursed them early on, way before she died. Some people say she cursed on her deathbed. So, okay. That's when they decided to think that this entity was Kate. And that's the name that stuck during this time. They didn't always try to refer to it by name, but they would usually say spirit, entity. They would read the Bible, trying to get a reaction out of whatever's happening. So yeah. So you have to go through it. This has happened over the course of 3 years. 3 years, this family got tormented. Betsy didn't really get tormented at first. It was actually targeted John Bell Sr. first. Would not leave him alone, would make him ill, would make him like beyond ill, like violently sick. His crops would have issues. Everything was just bad. He couldn't say things in the house without it laughing over him. It was like it's like this entity just took over and started punishing John Bell Sr. And it wasn't until later where Betsy actually engaged to a neighbor boy, Joshua Gardner. This is near the end of all this. So during this time, she was engaged. So then all of a sudden, the entity basically started attacking Betsy and started smacking her, scratching her, just wouldn't let her sleep. Her grades started going down. She wasn't doing well in school. Her teacher, who was a really good friend of the family, was very concerned that something was going on. They had neighbors that came through. They conducted experiments, mostly biblical experiments, using the Bible as a reference, trying to find out if this is a demon or just a spirit that's just angry. I don't think they really got their answer either way, at least not back then. So from what I understood is that the entity, Kate, did not like Betsy being engaged to this Joshua and was repeatedly after her to break the engagement and would torture her and would keep her awake at night and do whatever. I guess there's documents that she had her hair pulled and oh gosh, she was slapped. Some of the movie did show, the way that Betsy was tortured, but not for the reasons that they concluded. But she did break the engagement, and then 3 years after everything stopped, she ended up marrying her teacher. Now that's kind of interesting.
Was that the same teacher that was a family friend?
Yes. The teacher was a family friend. He was like, what, 16 years his senior, 20 years her senior. I don't remember how. There was a good age difference because she was, what, like 16 or 17 when all this started happening, give or take. So yeah, it was, to marry her teacher, because that literally saying, okay, I won't marry him. And then things slowly started petering off as she ended up being engaged to the teacher, which is kind of weird. Let's see. The entity, now this is interesting. the entity also was known to give hazelnuts to Lucy, the mom, and took care of her while she was sick. But not any of the family members would actually take really good care of Lucy for whatever reason. Some people believe that she may have been related to Kate Batts as a niece of Kate Batts, and maybe that's why this entity took a fondness to her. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to know. I'm not a psychic and I'm not a medium, so I wouldn't be able to ask anything of that nature. But before it completely stopped, before anything started continuing, there was, during this 3-year span, the boys went to a nearby cave and supposedly they supposedly disturbed a Indian or a burial ground inside the cave. And so the rumors, so that's when the rumors changed from, okay, maybe it's not this person, now maybe it's the Native Americans that are now coming after us. So lots and lots of rumors over 3 years of like, okay, well, what is this? What is this? They tried not to disturb the cave. They tried not to disturb the land. They were also very religious people. So they're going to do anything and everything to appease whatever is happening there. So anyway, so that all happened during this year, or during those 3 years. Near the end, the entity spoke aloud, saying that it's going to come back in 7 years. And the creepy part is, it came back in 7 years and talked.
Wow.
Yeah, and there are accounts written by John Bell Jr. with accounts talking with this entity about civilization, about Christianity, about the upcoming Civil War. All this was documented by him, and nothing. He never documented anything bad or anyone being tortured like before. And before leaving him, the entity promised to be back in 107 years. So that would be 1935. There's no proof or documentation whether or not the entity actually came back in 1935 to the descendants of the Bell family. There's no 100% garnered truth whether or not the entity did return. But the people during that time think maybe perhaps the entity never truly left and that the entity was there the whole time just staying quiet, which is very possible, which leads us up to present day. In present day, people do claim to hear knocks and noises on the reconstructed farm, because the original homestead is not there. They have a piece of it inside the building, and they reconstructed the farmhouse. But the cave, which is called the Bell Witch Cave, they do allow tours inside, but not right now. Everything's closed. But they do tour guides. They talk about people taking photographs. They've had photographs of orbs. They've had EVP evidence of things screaming, scratching, and they actually came up with the name. Kate came on a lot of EVPs, which is kind of interesting because, as you guys all know, it's very hard to fake an EVP unless you're like I guess the expert on how to put that in there when everyone else knows that you can't do that. But, yeah. So that appeared on not just on EVP's recording, but it also appeared on people who heard it audibly. So that's also interesting. So that kind of gives a little, I guess, truth to the story that all of the stuff that they wrote over the years, that Kate may have been the actual name, or the entity adopted that name, because they kept calling it that. So it's not uncommon for an entity to adopt a name that people have called it over time, which is also possible. It may not even be the real name. So, oh goodness. But what this is just all the known history of the Bell family. There was a time in 1848, the Saturday Evening Post did an article on the Bell Witch and the encounters, and blamed everything on Betsy. They blamed her, saying that she was the culprit. She started all these things, and everything that the family had done was completely fraudulent. It was later that they had to do a retraction and apologized publicly for shaming the Bell family and bringing forth what they called false accusations of the Bell family. I thought that was interesting. Because of this, Betsy, at that time, the people started calling her the Queen of the Haunted Dell. So she earned a reputation that she did not want. So yeah, because of that, she would refuse to speak to anyone other than family members about her encounters, about the possible, they called it the Bell Bridge because of the name of the family, the Bells. She wouldn't talk to anyone. If you were not family, she would not say anything. It's like, nope, I'm not talking to you. I'm not going to say anything. It's even noted that she did not like sleeping alone. Up until the day she died, she did not like sleeping alone. So whatever happened during that time period, it scared the bejeebers out of her. Highly, highly. She passed away in 1888. So she was born in 1806 and passed away in 1888. So she had a good life, just not a very happy one near her end. Yeah, and people do claim that she visits her gravesite, that she also still visits the Bell family area, or at least the land of. I don't know. I haven't been there, so I have to go by what the stories say. But here's where the movie kind of gets a little crazy. The movie takes into speculation that perhaps Betsy was abused by her father and that the mother knew. Now, there are some people that think that this was a possibility, but some people think that it wasn't a possibility because there's no I'm going to say this so that way I don't get myself in trouble. I have not found any documented fact that part is considered true. I don't know if that part is actually just Hollywood, which it could easily be, that part. But the abuse that the family got from the entity is all completely documented. You can look it up. There's many websites that talk about it. Many, as I said, 25 books. So, so yeah. Questions.
The abuse by the father bit may just have been made up, because I know we all know how good you are at your research, Jennifer. And I know if you can't find it, then I dare say there's a good chance it doesn't exist. Because I know you're a digger in a good way.
Well, considering my notes kind of went all over the page, and sideways and upside down, yeah, I dig.
It was quite unheard of back in those years of like poltergeist activity or like spirit or entity at that point. It wasn't very much spoken about.
Right. Especially during that time, because they were very religious folk that came. They were Christian. The law of the land was church canon. So church canon, that was law. You break church canon, you get in trouble, big time.
Because they deemed it as a poltergeist, didn't they? They thought it was maybe like poltergeist behaviour with the scratching and the things like that were going on.
Especially with Betsy being the age that she was. Not to mention there were a few other teenagers in that house at the same time, and
could have been feeding off the hormone.
Oh, right. There's a lot of documentations dealing with poltergeists, saying that it deals with children who are in their teens. Mind you, these are other documented cases. I have a whole other book on that. But my opinion is that I don't think it was 100% poltergeist activity. I think there's a lot more going on, and the family reacted to it the best way they knew how, which was through religion. They brought the church in. They had, read from the Bible. The entity would request certain parts to not be said from the Bible. Would say things. Would only want certain things read from the Bible, which is interesting from any entity to request. So,
Very strange, isn't it? How it when it only wants certain things.
mhm.
That alone is quite strange. It's got its demands. It knows what it wants and it knows what it wanted.
It knew, right, it knew what it wanted then. There's no evidence that I have found that indicated that the family was cursed by the lady who they can prove that Kate Batts did exist. Yes, of course they did, and she was a known witch of the time,
Okay.
supposedly. She was known as this. She did not go to church, uh, so yeah, she existed. Did her spirit come and torment the family? I don't know.
Hmm. Because it said as well that John Senior died quite mysteriously.
He did. He died to the point where they thought it was tuberculosis,
Okay.
um, but uh, if it was, how did he get it without being next to somebody who wasn't, be able
That
to
have
spread
been exposed to it. Yeah.
it? Since he lived in a community that's small, unless somebody else had tuberculosis, where on earth did he get it from? Okay, that's just scientifically thinking. Now, can entities make people sick? I believe so. I believe that many people have been caused to be sick by entities, and if this entity decided to make him sick, tuberculosis wise or otherwise sick, yeah, I would say that's an easy way to make him ill, run down, and poor health. And during that time, if you're poor health and sanitation wasn't exactly the greatest thing in the world, you probably weren't going to live too long.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, it's there's so many things, and I can tell you this from what I just said, or the basics of what I said is actually that is this what a lot of people agree with, that story. They agree. Okay, here's the legend, here's the knowledge, here's the story, and the movie is kind of
So the movie basically, I mean, by the sounds of it, the movie is done the same. I might be wrong, just my opinion, but the movie's done the same as it did with the Exorcist story. You know, it's took the basic legend story, whatever,
right.
and kind of twisted it around to make it look good in the movie, to make a good movie
Exactly.
out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, because this story is over 200 years old, and it was
Uh huh.
known even during that time. It when knowledge of it spread. I mean, even what was it? President Andrew Jackson got wind of it, and he supposedly had an encounter when he came to. I don't know if he came to visit or whatever, but he made
I,
mention of the Bell Witch,
I
and
do
that
think that he'd had an actual. Was it James Johnston?
not John. There was a Johnson. That was the neighbor.
Yeah, the
There's
family friend.
yeah, that was
He
James Johnson.
because he spent an evening at the Bell home and was woken that night
Well,
by the same well, apparently was awoken with the same
they
phenomena.
there's conflicting stories about what he was doing when him and his family came over. He was a skeptic. He was a huge
Okay.
skeptic. He thought that he was being brought over. They were pulling his leg, and this is a whole big joke because they're getting at to get at him. And then I'm not sure what it because this is where it's unclear. It's unclear exactly what changed his mind. Something
Mhm.
happened to him, whether he was walking around, whether he was sitting down. I'm not sure because that's where the stories kind of change.
Mhm.
And then he became a believer, and then he became a part of the investigation later during those 3 years. He actually became a big helper, and then later the school teacher became a helper. So certain key people did help the Bell family during this time. Even the professor, he was a skeptic too. He's like, no, there's got to be a logical explanation for this. Which I am glad to say the movie does show that he was like, no, show these people trying to be logical about it until
Mhm.
something happened to them. Bravo, Hollywood, you got that right.
Is I mean, I'm a big film buff. I'm a big, I love my films, horror movies, the lot. But I mean, as you said, the Bell Witch story, The Exorcist, and there are probably many, many more. to me, if somebody's going to make a movie, they need to do their research first,
Well,
and
I know.
they kind of do,
get the
but then
story
kind of go,
right.
well, what can we do to stretch the story? What can we do to make it more interesting? So they do their research. I'm pretty sure they did, because there's a lot of things in the movie that do reflect history. So you can't say that they didn't do any research, because there are things in there that do reflect the stories and legends I found. Okay. But the rest of it's all Hollywood. Let's have fun with it. But the wolf part, I'm sorry, I thought I mentioned this. I guess I didn't. There was a known wolf that the boys of the Bell Boys would say that would come around. A black wolf would be around the property. So them introducing that black wolf in the movie, more at John Bell Sr., was actually seen by other family members, not just John Bell Sr. So that's where history versus Hollywood change. Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies.
Rosemary's Baby.
Yes, it does have lots of realism in that movie. Lots of people during that time. That was the time period. People were fascinated with that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until later, when American Haunting and other things started coming up, where more history related stories became more interesting. So you went from the fantasy to, okay, now where's the history and can we have fun with it? That's why they've done all the different Warren movies now. The Conjuring and well, actually, The Haunting in Connecticut was one of their cases too. But they didn't bring in the Warrens in that movie, but that's okay.
I watched that about a month ago, Haunting in Connecticut. I'd never ever seen it. I thought it was quite good, but then, that's just me, my opinion again about it.
You have seen it?
Have I?
We watched it months and months and months ago.
Haunting in Connecticut. Here is there by the editing,
The voice from the dark.
Anyway, so back to the witch.
Paranormal. Carry on, Jennifer. Sorry.
All right. Oh no, she's talking. Misty Cat saying that Rosemary's Baby was scary. To a lot of people, it was. But I like horror films. It takes a lot to scare me. It takes quite a lot to scare me. Yeah, but one of these days, I guess you say where the Bell Witch Cave is and the reconstructed cabin is. It's now a tourist attraction, a huge tourist attraction. They do sell the stories and get people to come in. They give the history, they give the legend, and of course, so a lot of it, you have to wonder how much nowadays, how much are they actually telling, or do people actually, are they willing to dig for the history like I did? Do they want to know more of what happened there, or are they just going to take for verbatim I mean, I'm not saying that this place is telling everything that's wrong, which I'm pretty sure they have a lot of their history correct, but what's unfortunate is how touristy the area has become.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. They become over publicised, and they get tourists here, there, and everywhere that come to see this particular place, and then in the end, it becomes like a moneymaker because people are paying to see this.
Right, like the cave, they allow people to go in. Well, when it's open, they allow people to go into the cave. You can't take video, they said. On the website, you cannot take video. It doesn't say anything about not being able to take pictures, but you can't take video. Interesting concept. You can't take video, but you can take pictures. With Barbara Hershey, which scared me, but was based on a true story, I think. The Entity, Barbara Hershey's been in a lot of Entity style movies. So is this one called The Entity, or is it? See, I think I've seen. There is a movie called The Entity. Is she in that? I don't remember.
There was a film years ago. I think it was maybe the 80s. It was called The Entity, and it was Barbara Hershey. It was that lady that was in it.
Yeah, Elizabeth was asking in the chat, why not video, I wonder? And I am wondering the same thing of why they won't allow video in the cave. It is an odd thing to request, but that's their request. It's stated right on their webpage.
You would think no cameras at all then, if that was the case, rather than you can take photos but no video.
Exactly. And you can take video, not video, but I guess not there. There's nothing that says you can't take video anywhere else. But yeah, cave is like completely, sorry, no video. I just want to email them and go, why? Maybe I should. Maybe I should email them and find out why.
It's a valid question. To me, it's a valid question.
Would it not be
It
because
is.
you can commercialise video, but you can't commercialise pictures as much?
Don't know if you heard the voice.
Yeah, I
from
heard the
above.
voice.
You can commercialise video, but not pictures so much. There's Forrest. Hi, Forrest. I hope you're okay.
Hi, Forrest.
What's your take on it, Matthew?
Don't really have an opinion. I know it's a great story. There's a lot of history to it. Jen already beat me to it, but I was going to bring up Andrew Jackson. Apparently, he did spend some time there with the team.
Supposedly. Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, yeah. No. So, but she beat me to it.
So I need to email them and go, why? Yeah, because I want to know, and I'm sure everybody else who's watching this is like, well, why is that a restriction? But definitely, that story is known all through most of Tennessee and the neighboring states. So the Bell Witch was, I guess, spread, so to speak, and other people claim. Here's what's weird: not the Bell Witch, but other styles of paranormal problems started creeping up slowly after this, and kind of almost came, not completely, but almost came to a full stop at the start of the Civil War. Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah.
Is there any history of any of them actually being into witchcraft? Practicing at any time or anything like that?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Hold on, I gotta think. Great, now I can't. Brain, done.
Just stopped.
It just stopped, and brain just went boop, gone.
Have I put you on the spot?
No, I just don't know how to answer that without. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just, forget it. Yes and wow. Damn, Scott.
Jennifer's lost for words.
Mark the calendar.
Sorry. Again.
Now I'm trying to. Okay, sorry. Totally derailed. And all I have in my head now is witchcraft. It's all I got in my head. That's all that's stuck.
I kind of messed up the line then, didn't I? Sorry, folks.
No, you didn't mess up anything. It's just, I started thinking about it, and then it just kind of derailed in my head, and then I went back to thinking, and I couldn't remember exactly what you said, and then all I could think of was witchcraft. I'm like, well, that's done.
Misty Cat makes a good point, I think. You see this went on for about 3 years. Why people stay, because obviously the Bell Witch isn't just the only story on this with possessions and poltergeists and why people stay in the same house.
Well, I have a really good thing because, then people didn't have the money, the means to pick up their whole family, especially when you have 7 kids and a wife and you're a farmer. You pick up, you lose your income. and then you have to start over from scratch. And then you have to, not to mention, you have to get permission from the church to get new land because it's all church canon back then. Or in more modern ones, where like say in the, I went Matt.
We've lost Matthew.
I don't know what happened to Matthew. Yeah, he's across the river somewhere. Right. But as far as more modern day ones from like the 1970s, when they talk about people being, I guess, jumbled in or being tortured by an entity or entities, a lot of those people don't have the means to leave their home. They don't have the money. And isn't it ironic that a lot of those families that are being tortured are large numbers? They're a larger family, not a small family, not 2 or 3. We're talking about, over 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people in a family, and they cannot leave where they're at. They don't have the means to do so. They're
basically just stuck there.
Exactly. So they're kind of just having to live with the moment. And I would say with the Bells, his livelihood was being a farmer, and that's what brought in the money for their family. Without him having the land and his sons to help him with it, they're not going to be able to do anything. They'd be broke.
I do remember a bit in the Conjuring film, there's a scene where the wife says, "Can we just leave?" And the husband says, "We can't just leave because all our money's tied up in this place." You mentioned that. I do remember that.
Right. And nobody will indefinitely take in that big family of so many. Not good choices. I've been ghosting every night. I've been ghosting every night if I lived in a haunted place. Oh, parties all the time. Well,
that's your thoughts.
No, I live in a place where they come, they visit, they're here every now and then. They're here. So most of the time I just go whatever and I just ignore them. It's not a party all the time. I can tell you that. But at least in my case, they're not causing trouble. So these other cases, especially with the Bells, this caused a lot of trouble. And it didn't cause any trouble with anyone else, just that family. The surrounding neighbors, even though they all had something when they were there at the Bells homestead, sure, things did happen to them. But as soon as they left the homestead, the entity didn't exactly follow anybody else. It stayed with the Bells. And that, yeah.
Matthew had to leave because he's got a meeting to go to.
Yeah, so I figured.
That's why he doesn't.
He's got a project that he's got this weekend, so.
Yeah. Is there any what's what? I'm doing a Jennifer. I forgot the word.
I forgot what you're gonna say.
Relations still alive. Relations to the Bells still alive. Aye, that's what I mean.
You mean the ancestors of the Bells? Yes.
That's the word, ancestors.
Yes. Actually, the one I found, she goes and does and talks to, I guess does conferences or whatever. She was named after Lucy.
Oh, after like the grandmother. Well, Betsy's mum, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's named after Lucy.
I'm losing it. I swear, I'm losing it. See all these, you're halfway through a sentence and then you forget what you're actually talking about, and people are just sitting with a look of wondering on them. Sorry, Jen.
No. but yeah, to answer your question, there are ancestors or descendants of the Bells that are alive today. Yes.
Because you know how you said earlier that it promised to come back after so many years, etc. I wonder if any of the ancestors have actually been visited.
Not to my knowledge.
It would be good to know. Do you know what I mean? It would be intriguing to find
I
out
don't-
if.
Yeah, I wonder if she's been actually asked that. I bet you she has been asked that. Whether or not she's been forthcoming, I don't know. She does talk at those conferences. She does talk about her history and her connection to it, but not to my knowledge. I don't. I think 1935 was the last known possible. No, I guess and when the entity actually said, but now when people go there and they do investigations, they're getting the name Kate. So it's probably not just with the bells anymore.
Yeah.
It might just it's also very possible that it's only in that area. It may not follow the bells, or at
Because
least
it was stated, and I was reading up on it a wee while back, and it stated that it could recite a sermon that was given 13 miles apart, and it could recite it word for word, and it seemed to like religious quotes and religious sermons rather.
I said that earlier. And
Mm-hmm.
only certain parts of the Bible. It didn't like other parts. It did not like Revelations. It liked things that talked about rules, talked about family. It liked things that were as matter of fact, not just a story.
Strange, isn't it?
Very strange.
It's really strange how the name Kate came up. As you said earlier on, Jennifer, EVP Kate came up. You can't tell, you can't, as you say, you can't program these things to say certain words. You can't put them into it.
Say what they want.
I mean, I know we were talking earlier before we came on about Sam, as we always do. In a good way, Sam. I mean, in a good way. And Sam had that one that came up, that investigation having Shelley done, and it came up. What was it? Get Out, Sam.
Sam, stop, get out. And then when Forrest was in the same place, like months later, like Forrest isn't even from Scotland, and it was the first time she'd been there. And she said, "My name's Forrest," and it said, "Who's Forrest?"
I forgot about that one. Sorry, Forrest, though. I forgot about that one. That was last week.
And that was actually on the same area that I got Sam, stop, get out.
Interesting. Yeah, I believe that, at least here in America, if you come to an area and you're open enough, they're going to know you. I'm very curious whether or not I would love to go to the Bell area and actually go to Tennessee and go there just to listen to others, see what I can see, but not, I guess you could say, kind of be in the background just to see what was going on, because I don't want to be where everyone else is. I don't want to be, oh, you guys are all over there conjugating. No, I'm going to be here because it's better for me. You guys are all plugging me up.
How far are you from Tennessee?
Gosh, I can have an answer in a few seconds.
Thousands of miles.
Nope, I'm going to get you that answer. Hold on. Give me a moment. I'm going to do it because I can. Because it's in Adams, Tennessee. Directions.
Is it Sacramento you're in?
I'm above Sacramento.
You're above Sacramento.
Uh-huh. Oh, come on. Why
So
is it
15 minutes away from Matthew.
Give or take, yeah, on a good day.
Miles away.
Miles away. Yeah, it's miles away, but I can't seem to get... What the flip? Seriously?
So no working for you.
It's being weird. It's not coming up with a map. It's just telling me... Choose... Okay, now it's working. It was being... Oh, God, that's 1 day, 9 hours.
Wow. It is miles away.
2,232 miles is
All
how
right,
far away
bang goes I.
to get to the city or the town of Adams, which where it's at, is the town of Adams, and it's telling me the best route if I don't want toll roads. If I want toll roads, it tells me a different route. How fun!
Much like the UK with the M6. No, I was thinking there. Aye, okay, you're a long way away.
Yeah.
Bang goes I. What I was thinking was obviously you get Cat over that side, but we're also close to SRS Paranormal, who's run by Matthew Sorge. They're based in Tennessee.
Okay.
So if you'd been a bit closer, then maybe we could have worked out something with Matthew and his team.
Let's just put it this way: I'm not against traveling. It's just if I'm going to go that far, I need to prepare. I could probably get there in probably a day and not in less than a day, but that's how I drive. But then I would probably take longer than a day because I want to stop and look at all the things I hadn't seen.
That's it. I think I'd be doing this.
I haven't seen all of them yet, so I'm like, okay. There's a lot to see.
But that's it. We were up north on Sunday. We went away, and our original plan was to go to Loch Lomond, but then Loch Lomond turned into Glencoe, and then it turned into Glenfinnan, the viaduct where the Harry Potter, the bridge that's in Harry Potter. I'm not a fan. No offence to Harry Potter fans. However, it's the bridge that the train goes over going to the school sort of thing. So that's up north. So we ended up there as well. It's amazing how your journey can get longer and longer because there's things that you want to see along the way. So I'd imagine you going to Tennessee would probably take quite some time.
It would, but the only way, that's if I drove. I can always fly.
Could fly, aye. Well, I could fly. Huh?
It'd be less, there's your less than a day.
Mr. Cat's saying, it was Mr. Cat. I'll put my hands up, even though I'm not a Harry Potter fan, to see the viaduct and the train coming over it. It was well worth the extra hours drive up for Glencoe, so it was well worth going to see. But do they allow investigations in the cave?
What about the cave?
Do they allow investigations in it? I know they say no video, but
I don't know. That wasn't a question I could get an answer to. Then again, I didn't email. I just kind of went on their site to see what they offer, how much they charge, that kind of stuff. They do allow, there are people that have mapped the cave and spelunked in it and found that it goes pretty deep. So I forgot how many miles. The bell or that cave system has not been 100% mapped. So they have the entrance and they let people go in and they actually tell people to be careful. So I don't know if they allow investigations or not, but I do know they've allowed spelunkers in. And they tell people if they go in, they have to be careful because if you go too far, you're going to end up in trouble.
Not coming back out. Just getting back. Just getting back to the father bit, in the movie it said that the girl was abused by the father, basically. Right. I think that pops up near the end of the film, towards the end of it. If I remember, it was Donald Sutherland that played the father, I think. Yeah. If I remember.
He played it, yeah.
So it's saying in the film, basically, he abused the daughter. But then if that's not true, that puts a kind of bad light on the kind of memory.
The family itself?
No, not at all. there's no written evidence of if there was something that happened, and if Betsy was actually abused by her father in a sexual way, it wasn't something that was talked about during that time period, and it probably wasn't documented, even if it was. So it could have happened. Maybe. Is it based on truth? Don't know. That's the
And I
problem.
just think you could have put a kind of bad light on, but if there's no documented evidence, then you wonder where they got it, Hollywood got that from then. If there's no evidence, did they just make that up to add a bit of
Not
story to
necessarily.
the film,
Okay,
or
think of it this way. Every legend, every story, every myth is based off of some shred, even if it's a little tiny bit of truth. It comes from somewhere. So there must have been something they fabricated because they heard something, a rumor, or they saw something that said that John Bell Sr. doted on his daughter because, one, being the only daughter, she's going to be well looked after by the father. So who knows how? Yeah, artistic license. Who knows how much of that, as they said, artistic license was put into play because of what was found historically versus what actually did happen. So that was a very good question. Indeed.
that
Excuse me.
I was just going through the comments here. Artistic license. What does that actually mean? I know I sound like an idiot, but um, like Greyfriars Bobby, based on truth, but has grown legs over the years. That's very true, Stephen.
I've only read the book. That's it. And it's been years since I read it.
But it is true, these stories are based on truth, but over the years, as Stephen says, they grow legs, and it's I think it kind of snowballs, and bits get added on and what have you.
Well, yeah, it's like anything that happens, especially when it involves the paranormal, especially when things are unknown in a time period where people are very religious. They're going to throw everything and anything at it. And then later, over 200 years later, now you have people looking back at the story going, well, how can we make it more interesting? And how much can we stretch the truth? It does happen.
Um,
So
that is Jamie in the chat. I kind of guessed who it was by his profile picture.
As soon as he mentioned Greyfriars Bobby, I'm like, I know who that is. Because I was like, who is that?
Here's one for you, Sam.
That's funny.
We won't get to that one. That was fortunately I missed that episode. We're in Edinburgh today, and we jumped into Greyfriars to say hello and what have you for a quick catch up. And let's just say I'm glad I went for a walk when I did. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying on the subject. But I mean, they do stretch the truth, and I think partly because.
And you answer your other question. I cannot find anything on their webpage that indicates that they allow that kind of investigation in the cave. So, once again, probably have to either call or email.
I think you should email. Definitely, Elizabeth thinks you should email them.
I've got a lot on my plate as it is. I have a lady I'm in contact with in Sacramento. I have to email her back a few times. Yeah, I'm busy.
Yeah, but that's my jail proof.
In jail. Oh, nice. Alrighty then. But yeah.
Do you think
that's it that's all there really is for the Bell Witch? I wish there was more to tell you guys. So you had that history, and as you can tell, it blew up, and now it's just made itself big. But the story's so small.
Mm.
Yeah, just as Jamie says, it grew legs. But
It grew legs and yeah, and it must have inherited a roller coaster or two. I'm not sure.
That's one thing, and by the time you've got to the end of the street, it's something completely different.
Exactly. I will say I am fascinated with the idea of the Bell Witch. I'm also fascinated by other older stories that have come from the East Coast that deal with families that have been tormented or tortured. It's just interesting that they're more on the East Coast because you really don't hear about this on the West Coast. We don't have stories like this. We have stories of other stuff, but we do not have stories of that.
I mentioned the Bell Witch on my tour when talking about early poltergeist cases.
Yeah, the Bell Witch is still considered one of the early poltergeist cases, but is inconclusive of whether or not it truly was a poltergeist case. Is it poltergeist by the definition? Yes. Is it completely a poltergeist? Using the definition? No, because of other things that had happened to the family. So that being said, poltergeists aren't normally vocal or speak scripture back to you.
It's
That's why they call it a noisy ghost. It moves things around. I might be wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. I could be wrong that there may have been cases where a poltergeist has spoke, but to my knowledge, I have not heard of one.
No, me either.
So that's why I'm wondering where part of it may have been started as a poltergeist, but then manifested to something larger. That's kind of crazy.
There was two. I think it was too many things happened. Enfield and Borley. I was going to say Borley Factory. Borley Rectory.
That's. I don't know if I want to truly believe or not believe in that one. The Warrens were involved, sort of, not completely. I think the whole thing was. I think part of it was true and part of it was not true. Honestly, with Enfield Poltergeist, I don't think the Warrens messed it up. But I think the Warrens may have put a negative light on it. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that they're bad people, but their involvement, I don't think, was the greatest thing for that case.
I know the Enfield and that, the Warrens, etc. There were varied opinions on their input on it. Some positive, some negative. A lot of people said that they jazzed it up, for want of a better word. For attention, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the Mackenzie poll is yet to talk.
Well, he's quite good at shape-shifting, the Mackenzie poltergeist. He likes to go and have cups of tea with people, so you never know, he might talk.
But okay, from a definition of poltergeist and actually scientific point of view, a poltergeist is actually here and then they don't stick around. So how long has this poltergeist been around? And if it's been around longer than a few years, I don't think it's a poltergeist anymore. That's because poltergeist actually come, they start and stop. Where a haunting stays a long time, a poltergeist can interfere and come into that haunting, but I've never known a poltergeist staying that long as a poltergeist. I mean, unreal. Wow.
We actually think there is a Mackenzie poltergeist. We've talked to several people, what have you, and without saying too much, for what we've gathered, Sam knows what I'm talking about. There's no such thing, but that's just our opinion. Obviously, everybody's opinion varies when it comes to the Mackenzie poltergeist. He's also missing a key ingredient.
And that would go with the definition as well of what, or the definition of what it does. Yeah, it has to have a centralized location. Usually. Mm-hmm.
We're of the frame of mind that Mackenzie Poltergeist doesn't exist because we spoke to people that are, well versed in the whole subject and what have you, know what they're talking about. I know the Mackenzie Poltergeist story has been around for quite a few years.
Details. So there was stuff noted way before the bells of possible poltergeist activity, where things started up and then just dropped away. Not everyone was tortured. There's been cases where it just was causing mischief. Basic, simple, everyday annoyance.
21 years.
21 years is then it's not a poltergeist anymore.
That's how long the story's been about. But there's no, as far as we're aware, that's what I'm going to put it. As far as we're aware, there's no evidence that the Mackenzie Poltergeist exists. People, I think, a lot of people do believe it. Some people don't. I'm just saying my opinion.
Well, let's ask this. It's the same. We'll use the Mackenzie thing as the thing and the catalyst on the whole the Bell Witch. There are still a lot of people out there that do not believe the Bell Witch ever existed, that it was all made up.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the legend has persisted for over 200 years. Now you're saying that this with Mackenzie was that there's at least 21-year period. Is this what I'm understanding? A 20-year period of being active, give or take?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have the 21 years of activity. Now, is there anything like similar to the bells? Did it start out slow and then continue? Or I mean, how well documented is it? That's what I would ask. See this now. Okay, now you got me in investigator mode. Completely. This is how I do things. I'm like, I start breaking things down because you have anime. Oh, now we're switching. Okay, now we're completely switching. Now he's talking about anime develop. Will you quit switching topics? Holy smokes! How do we go from talking about a poltergeist, sort of not poltergeist haunting, to a sort of poltergeist, to now Amityville demon stuff? And going, what the hey? Okay, we totally got derailed in chat for some reason. Not my fault.
He's quite random.
Yep, that's him to a T.
As far as Amityville goes, we did a live on it last year, and I looked into the stuff about it.
The only thing that's 100% true would be the attack that happened on not the people that currently live there supposedly with their thing. It's the family that got killed. Now that is a story that needs to be talked about. Keep up. Well, I'm going to keep up if you don't keep changing subjects, because you totally went from one subject to the other. I mean, I'm good at that. I'm good at following. I can follow a train, but your train has gone in and up and down, and I'm not sure where the heck it's heading.
That'll make them worse.
33,000 eyewitnesses. Okay. You still haven't answered my question. The question was, how did it start? Has it increased? Witnesses is great, but I need to know what was the progress, and why is it and why are they still considering a poltergeist after all these years? It should not be a poltergeist after all these years.
Well, that started happening back in 1999, and it was all around what's called the Black Museum. Black Museum. Black Mausoleum.
Oh!
Where did I get museum? Mausoleum.
We're having a whole new subject over here, apparently.
Black Mausoleum. And over the years, yeah, I'm going to say that all the time now, Black Museum. I don't know why. Black Mausoleum. A lot of people associate the Black Mausoleum as Mackenzie's tomb, but they're not. It's two separate things. The attacks, there we go. I'll let the man himself tell you. I believe I called it a museum.
Finally, he answered my question. Yes. It started with full-blown scratches and interactions and has stayed pretty constant through the year. See, constant's one thing. Other poltergeist activity, after a certain time, drops. The consistency goes away. 21 years is unheard of. And if this is truly a poltergeist activity, and mind you, I'm not there, I haven't witnessed it, I have no idea. But if it's still doing the same thing over that many years, then it's the longest known poltergeist I've ever heard of.
That disappeared there, that comment. Goodbye to Amityville. See, we did a live last year on it, and I looked into it, and in my opinion, Amityville, the Lutzes, they were fake. Just my opinion, because all the evidence.
I would think that the possibility, right. I think that if we're going to go that route on the Amityville, that the Lutzes were fake, but whatever was there, we've talked about this before in other lives, where there might be something else there, or anyone else's house, and it doesn't mean that everyone else senses it, feels it, knows it, or whatever. What happened to the Lutzes may have been 100% fabricated. Very possible. 98% possible. It's the other 2% I worry about.
Yeah, because I mean, the house was built in 1924, I do believe, and up until the DeFeels moved in, there's no evidence of anything happening. And then obviously with DeFeels, that happened.
Right.
Moved.
Right. There's that. But there was, before the family, the one that the father killed his family, that's the same house, before the Lutzes moved in, they said that there was things going on, and whether or not he was just crazy, we don't know why, 100% why, and whether or not that was the negative energy that was left in the house, which is very possible. That is the going theory, that is a negative energy from the house, not necessarily what the Lutzes did. However, I want to be able to take that one photograph of that little boy that's been pushed around the internet for years. I'd like to know how the heck and why, and what has caused that to be such the only proof. Why is that the only proof, supposed only proof that exists?
Well, what I read about that photograph, don't tell us this is just what I read up on the photograph. The little boy in the photograph was said to be one of the kids of the film crew that was in that house at the time when we were filming.
That is one of the stories that they said. They said that it's a lot. Could have been a lot of things. It could have been one of the adults that was on the floor and just happened to look up. Don't know, because no one's going to tell the truth. No one wants to tell the truth because it tells a good story.
It does. Then after the Lutzes moved out or fled, whatever way you want to put it, the people that moved in the house after it. I mean, the Lutzes described the house as being in a mess.
The people who have no issues, but they've had issues with people who kept coming and violating their privacy. They had to change the windows out because they would stop in front of the house and get or not the front, wherever those those rounded windows were. Those are no longer there. They changed them out.
And then the demonic pig at the window turned out to be a cat.
That's
it was a neighbour's cat.
It's very possible. Mind you, I don't know much about it. I know one of my friends visited there. He got a chance to be there. He says he's not a big fan of the fact that it's haunted or anything, but he says that there is, and maybe negative energy, but that's about it.
It's not human, but it's not the. There is definitely something in, going back to Greyfriars briefly, there is definitely something in Greyfriars at the Covenanters prison. There's something there. I don't think it's Mackenzie.
No.
I'm an expert, mind you, but I don't think it's George Mackenzie. Other people do. That's just
But
my
see, the
opinion.
thing is, the amount of people that have died near the Black Mausoleum
Hmm.
due to it being the Covenant prison, the amount of people that have died and perished outside there. Aye, fair enough, he was doing it on the King's word, but he didn't die in the Covenant prison.
And that's the other problem. People think, oh, because something else happened, then of course it's twists and turns. Okay, we're going to change it around. And then all of a sudden now that person now died there when they never did. It happens a lot.
Over 800 of them died, obviously, like in the Covenanters. But that's what I mean. Just because he ruled over it doesn't mean that he's going to reside back there, because his tomb's nowhere near the mausoleum. It's in a completely different area of the graveyard.
And this is where you get into the question is, do ghosts stay put? No. They travel. But poltergeists are centralized and only in a certain location.
Because his tomb is desecrated twice, and apparently the twice that it's been desecrated, the activity's picked up in the mausoleum, in the Covenanters prison, which is like, again, separate from where the tomb is.
Okay, now this is something that happens over in America when they start messing with tombs or grave sites, and a headstone gets whatever badly damaged as part of history. The family, at least within Bell's case, they had to take Betsy's headstone away for safekeeping because it had been desecrated and damaged too much, and they put in a different harder to damage marker. Do they do that over there in Scotland at all?
The graveyards that I've been in, there's a lot of damaged headstones and they've just been left, the way they are.
Right. No, they do that too, especially on the East Coast. A lot of them get left behind. It would take a family member or ancestor or the community to actually replace a headstone that has been greatly damaged. The cemetery that I live near, a lot of the headstones have been either replaced by family members or have been able to been fixed because of funds brought in. It's really sad that we had, oh God, I forgot how much thousands of dollars worth of damage. Some kids broke into the cemetery at night and they did a whole lot of damage to a pioneer cemetery. It was devastating.
It's horrible. Why would you even do that?
Because these were punks. They didn't care. They didn't care.
They get laying flat for safety over here in Scotland, so they get laying flat on the ground.
They used to do that, but now because they didn't want them to sink into the mud or into the ground, they try to, I guess, encase them in concrete, so that way they're protected, but they're still laid flat. But a lot of them have been encased. Some have been brought up again or upright again, but in those cases, the graveyards are heavily monitored with cameras. But yeah, they do. That's a practice that they do here as well. It is a safety thing. I would definitely, yeah. That's cool. I'm glad that practices seems to be a global thing. That's awesome.
It's just a shame because some of the graveyards are really, I mean, I've wandered around Greyfriars many a time, and some of the headstones and what have you are really, really, the amount of work that's went into them, and they're really amazing, some of them. You can stand and stare at them for hours, and then you see other ones in other graveyards that have just been snapped in half or whatever, defaced and what have you, and it's really really sad.
Well, there's Greyfriars, for example, just as we were on talking about Greyfriars, down the very bottom of the cemetery there's a grave. I think it's been there from, I think it's 1606 or 1609. I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but it's one of the oldest, or it is the oldest gravestone in Greyfriars. And it's grand looking. It's got like it looks like it came from like a really well-to-do family sort of thing, if you know what I mean. They all seem to be really grand and big the older they are.
Seems that way. That seems to be I guess you say that seems to happen a lot of places. I mean, not just where you guys are. Same with over in America. A lot of our older cemeteries, the well-to-do families and the older cemeteries, they have these elaborate headstones and these huge mausoleums. It's like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento has a lot
1604.
of them.
I wasn't far out.
1604.
I was 2 years out. Wasn't that bad?
You know, you were near enough. You were near
At
enough.
least I was in the right genre of years, as in the 1600s. I could have
Right
been way out.
At least you were in the right century. That's the kind of main thing.
That's
But
right.
before we wrap it up, we'll just give people just a wee bit of info on what we've got coming in the future. I know Jennifer's 2 or 3 things in the pipeline, but you're not disclosing a lot of it, which is a good thing.
I can disclose one thing. It deals with, let's put it this way. I can say, without giving too much away, it does deal with the cemetery that we were in last. That we have some things coming up with that, but I'm not going to say what.
My lips are sealed.
I'm not. It's like I'm like yeah. And of course, with me finding my relatives, or finally finding my relatives there, holy crap, finally, which was awesome. But I want to go. I need to go back during the day again. That place is huge. And then I plan on taking Matt and Craig don't know this. I'm taking them probably to the Oakland Cemetery and some other places in Oakland, and then dragging them wherever I please because I find all kinds of stuff.
I'm sure Matt and I forgot. What's your son's name? He's on your team. I can't.
Craig, yes, he's behind. He's very good at what he does. He just likes to be behind the scenes. He doesn't like. That's why he's like, nope, I'll be over here, but not. He's like, okay, you made me talk. He's like, I can't believe you made me do that thing on the video. I'm like, why not?
He's a bit like myself then. I mean, a bit shy, camera shy, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then he'll be with us. He and Matt. Actually, it was going to be Craig and I at first, and then Matt was able to is able to go as well. So the 3 of us have an endeavor that's the overnight next month, at the end of next month. So it's an overnight, 3 nights in a location that we get all to ourselves. Yay! And nobody else. Yep, no one else.
So that's coming up. That's coming up on the other side of the pond, as they say.
It is.
That's coming up for our American people.
I'll have something, or we'll have something to show or share during that time, but we don't want to give too much away for that one because of the location. It might spawn people to want to try to join us, and I'm not saying I don't want people that I know to join us. I just want it to be us 3. So
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. You know, certain individuals, you know, but to say quite a bit coming up on the US side of things. Over here, down south around Stream Day, John and Forrest are going to be getting together. Not in a biblical sense. Sam, calm down, for goodness sake.
That's a family channel.
See what I mean, Jennifer? Unbelievable.
No, I see completely. She's not just trying to hide herself underneath the shirt. What are you trying to do? You're not a turtle. You're not
could be.
She might be. You never know. You could be. So
Turtles have got quite an easy life.
Basically how it's working over here is that either Craig or Matt gives me an idea, and I go, okay, and I kind of go, let's see who I can call.
Hi, Harry. Harry's just coming in.
Hi, Harry.
I like turtles. I'm over the moon. Stephen likes turtles. I don't even know how to reply to that one.
They
So I'll
are the
just not.
most underrated animal and species out there. Turtles are cool wee things.
My daughter loves turtles.
They're great. They've got a chilled life. They just get to chill out.
She loves turtles. I think her favorite turtle is still the sea turtle, but yeah, she loves turtles.
Mm.
Excellent.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think. We're trying one more thing. So we have a lot of stuff doing in the summer that we're trying to do. A lot of it's outdoor stuff. So next month is the one that's kind of a combo. That's the indoor and outdoor. But we get to do something indoor. Yay!
If restrictions are on. So see, quite a bit coming off over the other side of the pond. I know Kat's got a couple of things lined up as well. Over here, we've got Forrest and Joe who'll be going out investigations down south. Forrest and John as well. We hope to team up Joe with GSI. For investigations in their area. That's all. Thanks for that, Elizabeth. I'm trying to be
Jennifer,
serious
look
here.
what you've started.
It's a turtle. Okay, you know what? I could start with giraffes because giraffes are my favorite animal. So
They're cute.
now they're very cute and they are vicious.
Are they?
They can be.
Are they?
Yeah, they're very protective.
Why have they got a long neck?
So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the knowledge about the Blair Witch. God, I butchered that one. Bell Witch. Not to be confused. Not with the Blair Witch. Nope. That's all fake. Not the fake one.
The Blair Witch and the Black Museum. No, it's I don't know.
Yeah, in the museum and mausoleum. That's a good one. I like that. Mausoleum, museum. Let's combine the two.
They're very, very, very similar. So as I was saying, up here, we're in Edinburgh again today doing some more of Darkest Mouse. The promo video should be going up tonight. And that'll be only on our YouTube channel for our Darkest Mile. And then we've got coming July, we're off to Pendle, Saturday. 9th of July, we're off down to Pendle to meet up for the weekend, and we're meeting up with Charlotte Underwood to do filming with her. And we're going to be doing I don't know who'll remember. For anybody who was with us last year, we used to do Parapole every week. We're starting that up again. Once a week, we'll take a different subject every week. We'll discuss it, we'll talk about it, and then we ask for everybody's feedback on it. Hence
we gotta get back into the random history of things. Challenging Scott, challenging me. We gotta get back into that.
You'll win. Jennifer, you'll win.
We will get because I enjoyed it. They were quite good, even though you slaughtered me, you know.
Okay, this much, but that's all right.
Also, while we're here, can I just say, while we're here, can I just put out there that on the 20th of May this year, we are holding a special investigation at a secret location in Scotland. And we've actually put it up for raffle on our page. So if anyone would like to contribute and maybe win the place to come on an investigation with us, they're more than welcome if they'd like to pop onto our page and take a wee look. And they never know. You've got to be in it to win it. As I say.
Makes sense. As the in it to win it, yes. Damn.
An exclusive to PIH.
I was going to say, but it is exclusive just to us, but it is an awesome location.
Very much so. One not to be missed.
One not to be missed. I mean, so there's quite a lot in the pipeline, folks.
If we don't have it up.
I never heard a word of what you said there.
I said we're going to keep on rambling if we don't wrap it up.
I know. So quite a lot in the pipeline, folks, coming up. That's just some of it. There's more as well. But thanks everybody for coming in. Thank you, Jennifer, for the Blair Witch.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I mean, thanks everybody for coming in. we're back live on Saturday night at 9 o'clock with Robert Crowe, who starred in the film The Crumbs. He's part of CRA, and Jerry Gonzalez, who's the graphic designer for CRA Entertainment. We met them briefly last week on our big quiz, so they're coming in on Saturday for a chat. And then Monday night we've got Karen Perkins, Karen's Book Corner, back for our usual monthly slot. So, and we'll hope to get out an investigation between now and Saturday, which will be on Facebook. But remember, Darkest Mile, the promo will be up tonight. It's only going to be on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see any, you need to jump on there once we get it out. So that's it for tonight, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you, Jennifer, Sam, everybody in the chat. Thanks very much for coming in, and hopefully we shall see you on Saturday. So take care for now, folks. Bye.
Good night. Bye.